Hi everyone, good afternoon. We'd like to start by asking you all a couple of questions. So first question, raise your hand if you've shopped for clothes in the last couple of months. Half of us about. Okay, good.
Now raise your hand if you like deals and discounts while shopping.
As expected, most of us love a good deal. And both of us are no different. I remember in the past when I've gotten so happy to buy a t-shirt for 150 or 200 rupees and a jacket for under 1,000 rupees on sale. But do we ever stop and ask ourselves, how are my clothes so cheap?
We've spent the last few years working in fashion, and we can tell you how.
My name is Tanvi.
And I'm Charanya.
And we're co-founders of a sustainable ethical fashion brand called Tamarind Chutney. At Tamarind Chutney, we believe in telling it like it is. So here we are talking to you about fashion's dirty little secrets. And that's why we want to answer the question, how are my clothes so cheap?
Let's start with a cotton t-shirt. I'm sure we've all owned one. The journey of a cotton t-shirt starts at the farm where the cotton crop is grown. These cotton balls are plucked and processed into yarn, which is basically thread. Now this yarn is dyed and knit into fabric. This fabric is layered and the pieces of the t-shirt are cut from it, such as the sleeves, the body, the collar and all. These pieces are sent to a factory where it is stitched. After the t-shirt is stitched, it is quality checked, packed and sent off to a store or a warehouse which is thousands of miles away from its origin. Why are we telling you all of this? Essentially, the process of converting a cotton crop into a t-shirt has many steps. Some of them may be mechanical, but a lot of them are still manual, especially the stitching part. Which brings us back to the question we asked you a couple of minutes ago. How are my clothes so cheap?
To put it simply, your clothes are cheap because the people who make them are underpaid. Most fashion brands assure us that their garment workers are at least paid the legal minimum wage. But does minimum wage guarantee a decent life above the poverty line? Not always. Consider the example of Tamil Nadu, the state we're in right now. The minimum wage is set at rupees 10,000 per month. Now if you're a garment worker working in a city, having to pay rent, figure out food, access clean drinking water, and maybe take care of 2 kids, 10,000 rupees is not going to cut it. And these are just the bare minimum expenses. What about saving for a rainy day? Or, dare I say it, having some fun once in a while, like going for a movie? Definitely not possible. Clearly then, minimum wage is an inadequate indicator of well-being. Economists have defined another term called the living wage, which is the minimum amount somebody needs to earn to cover basic expenses. Unfortunately, in manufacturing countries such as India, the living wage is 2 to 5 times higher than the minimum wage. So in essence, your clothes are not cheap because of some manufacturing miracle. It's because the people that are making your clothes are bearing the cost of those clothes. And this person is typically a garment worker living in a developing country such as India, working in poor conditions.
That's not all. To keep costs down, big fashion companies often engage in practices that are bad for the environment. How? The answer lies in volumes. Huge amounts of clothes are produced to increase factory utilization and keep raw material costs down low. This makes the clothes really cheap and forces the consumers to buy more than what they need. Now, we've all heard of the fashion brand Zara and its revolutionary case study of its supply chain that is taught in many MBA schools around the world. Zara is known for appending traditional fashion businesses that used to release 2 to 3 collections per year, which means they would launch new garments only 2 to 3 times in a year. Zara disrupted that operating model. They would create cheap knockoffs of these high fashion brands very, very quickly. They were able to launch, design and produce everything within weeks. Zara's factories also had a monorail that would connect its headquarters to factories in and around. They would buy huge quantities of fabric, design and cut everything and then send it off to these factories. Zara was able to bring down the production times from months to just weeks. In fact, they were one of the first companies to launch black dresses within a week of the 9/11 attack because they anticipated an increase in the demand for funerals.
This is the fast fashion model. And while Zara may have pioneered it, other brands are not to be left behind. H&M, Forever 21, The Gap, you name it. Most leading brands today are producing clothes using this model. And the latest addition to this fast fashion cabal is Shein, which produces new clothes at such high speeds that it makes Zara look like a tortoise. Even luxury brands such as Burberry, Chanel and Gucci, which have traditionally been very slow and only produce few items, have started producing more items because of fast fashion. Traditionally, there used to be 2 to 3 fashion seasons per year. Now, there are 52 fashion seasons per year. As a result of this new approach to fashion production, even our consumption patterns have changed. Because so many more clothes are available at prices that seem affordable, people buy more. And when people buy more, their budgets for each item reduces and they are okay with lower quality. And they don't expect clothes to last long, because why would you want to repeat an outfit on Instagram when you can just buy a new one on Shein at a throwaway price? In today's day and age of fast fashion, clothing has become somewhat of a disposable item. In fact, studies in the West show that an item of clothing is worn just 7 times before being thrown away. Not just that, the equivalent of 1 garbage truck full of textiles is either burnt or thrown into the landfill every second. That means that in the time it's going to take for us to finish this talk, 900 truckfuls of textile would have ended up in the landfill. And the story is not over once you throw your clothes away. Unfortunately, your clothes don't disappear once you throw them away. Most fast fashion companies use synthetic materials to make their clothes. Synthetic materials such as nylon and polyester are made of petroleum, and they take hundreds of years to biodegrade. Thus, when you throw something away or when something ends up in the landfill, it ends up polluting the earth and our oceans. This is the hidden cost of fashion: poverty wages and pollution.
Now, all of this sounds pretty glum, doesn't it? So what should we do about it? Should we start wearing leaves like early men and women? Jokes apart, as consumers, there's a lot we can do. On the sustainability side, we need to get out of the mentality of shop till you drop or of retail therapy. All of that is just instant gratification. It does not exist. Next time you're out shopping, ask yourself, what is the human cost and the environmental cost of your purchase? Remember, the most sustainable garment is the garment you already own. Now, I know it's irritating to think about sustainability when we're out shopping and we see deals like buy now before the offer expires, which triggers the FOMO in us, or there's targeted advertising, which seems to have supernatural powers. It's like you think of a shoe and the next day you're bombarded with shoe company ads on Google, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, your dad's phone. In a world of constant stimulus and FOMO, here are some hacks to help you shop only what you need. Follow the 5-5-5 rule. Ask yourself, are you going to wear this garment in 5 places? Do you already own 5 pieces that you can pair this garment with? And ask yourself, are you going to hold this garment for 5 or more years? This helps us in creating a sustainable wardrobe of timeless pieces, just like our grandmother's saris that are still in fashion and we look fabulous every time we wear them. Now, if you're shopping online, add the item to your cart and keep it there for 12 to 24 hours. After that time has passed, ask yourself if this follows the 5-5-5 rule. And if it does, then go ahead and buy it.
Also, when you're shopping, read the fine print and double check everything. If you're buying from a big brand, chances are that they might be greenwashing you. That is, using all the right buzzwords around sustainability, but not really doing anything different. The comedian Hasan Minhaj covered this in an episode of his show, Patriot Act. In the episode, Hasan Minhaj was looking at some clothes produced by a leading brand, and one of the items had a tag that said recycled materials. Like any normal consumer, he assumed that the garment was made of recycled materials. But guess what? Just the tag was made of recycled materials. The garment had a separate label hidden somewhere inside and no prizes for figuring out that it wasn't recycled. As consumers, it is critical to verify brands' claims by reading all product labels and even writing to the brand if we have more questions. If a product label says 100% organic and the brand is marketing this product as organic, then that's walking the talk. However, if the product label says 10% organic and the brand is still marketing it as organic, that's greenwashing. In today's day and age, you can even get a certificate for being a recycled product with only 20% recycled content in your product. And according to us, that's just not good enough.
While big brands may not be responsive to your questions of product specifications or of sustainability, smaller brands are more approachable. That's another reason to support smaller brands. Smaller brands may be more transparent about their practices of sustainability, even worker wages. Now, in an ideal world, all brands should be doing this. But sadly, we don't live in an ideal world. That's why it's important for consumers like you to demand these practices while shopping.
Now, sustainability doesn't end once you've bought the garment. How you care for your garment plays a huge role in determining how long your garment lasts. And remember, it's not sustainable if it doesn't last. One of the golden rules to make your clothes last longer is to wash them only when necessary. Air them out if possible. Clothes last longer if they're not overwashed by harsh detergents. And no, we're not advocating for you to wear clothes that are sweaty or smelly. But hey, who profits if you throw something into the laundry after just wearing for 1 hour? It's the detergent company. Use your better judgment to wash clothes only when they're actually dirty. If for some reason your clothes stop fitting you after you've bought them, your local tailor is your best friend. Alter your clothes to fit you better. If you can't alter your clothes for yourself, give them to somebody else who might find better use for them. And if your clothes are totally unwearable, use them as cleaning rags or give them to organizations that could use them as filling for mattresses, quilts, and cushions. On the worker wages side, it's difficult for consumers to make decisions that have meaningful impact. If you are able to buy from brands that are transparent and pay workers fairly, that's great. But we know that's typically a slightly more expensive option. So one thing that all consumers can do is to support non-profits that are working to improve the economic conditions of garment workers.
And there are many more such solutions. A lot of Indian crafts are developed in harmony with their surroundings. The Ajrak printing process is an example of such a process. Ajrak printing's every step either comes from nature or goes back to nature, be it the mud resin paste used for printing or the colors developed from iron rust and jaggery and natural indigo. Even the water used in the processing is collected into a central drainage system from every artisan's house and is let out into the fields. Even hand weaving, for example, rice paste or kanji is used to strengthen the threads before weaving it. And after washing, the water is let out in the fields or given to the cattle. In terms of our garments, what could be more versatile than the sari? There are over 108 ways to drape the sari, which means over 108 new garments. Even in our tailored garments, historically, they were made using less wastage while cutting and stitching.
We'd like to end this talk by coming back to the question we asked you in the beginning. How are my clothes so cheap? We hope you realize that it's because the true cost of your garment, that is the environmental cost and the ethical cost of the exploitation of the garment workers, is not reflected in the price tag that you see. Going forward, let's all pledge to consider the true cost when shopping and be more mindful of the impact of our choices on people and the planet.
Thank you.